Welcome to Storybook Kids Stories, where every story is an adventure filled with positivity, kindness, and big dreams. Here, we share fun and inspiring tales to help young hearts grow, learn, and feel encouraged. If you love these uplifting stories, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Thanks for being part of the Storybook Kids Stories family. Let's spread kindness together, one story at a time. Rachel woke up earlier than usual that morning, something feeling different in the air. The world outside her window was unusually quiet, wrapped in a blanket of pristine white snow that sparkled in the early morning light. Her mother's voice drifted up the stairs, filled with excitement. "Rachel, no school today. It's a snow day." Those magical words sent Rachel jumping out of bed and rushing to the window. The entire street was transformed into a winter wonderland. At least a foot of snow covered everything in sight, from the cars to the mailboxes, and fat snowflakes were still falling from the pearl gray sky. Within minutes, her phone buzzed with messages from her 3 best friends who all lived on the same street. Buck, who lived 2 houses down, was already suited up in his winter gear. Kevin, whose house was across the street, sent a picture of his backyard thermometer showing a chilly 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Val, who lived next door, suggested they all meet in front of Rachel's house in 15 minutes. Rachel had never gotten dressed so quickly in her life. She pulled on her warmest clothes, thermal underwear, thick socks, snow pants, her favorite purple winter coat, waterproof boots, and the matching hat and mittens her grandmother had knitted for her last Christmas. As she thundered down the stairs, her mother called out, "Breakfast first, young lady." "But Mom," Rachel protested, "everyone's meeting outside." "They can wait 5 minutes while you eat something warm," her mother insisted, placing a steaming bowl of oatmeal on the table. "You'll need the energy for playing in all that snow." Rachel knew her mother was right, so she quickly ate her breakfast, adding extra brown sugar for a special snow day treat. Through the kitchen window, she could see Buck already making his way down the street, leaving deep footprints in the untouched snow. Kevin was emerging from his front door, and Val was waving from her porch. Finally, with breakfast finished and proper winter gear double-checked by her mother, Rachel burst out the front door into the winter wonderland. The cold air immediately pinched her cheeks pink, and her breath came out in visible puffs that made her feel like a dragon. "This is amazing," Val called out, trudging through the deep snow to meet Rachel. Her purple-rimmed glasses were already slightly fogged up from her warm breath against the cold air. Kevin joined them next, carrying a ruler. "Guys, I measured the snow in my backyard. It's 14 inches deep. That's more than we got all last winter combined." Buck arrived last, already rolling a huge snowball. "What should we do first?" he asked, though his actions made it clear he was voting for building a snowman. The 4 friends stood in a circle, surrounded by the pristine white landscape. Their entire street, normally busy with cars and people heading to work and school, was silent and still. The snow seemed to muffle all sound, creating a magical bubble around them. "I say we build the biggest snowman the street has ever seen," Rachel suggested, her eyes twinkling with excitement. "And then maybe we could help clear some driveways? I saw Mrs. Johnson trying to shovel her walkway earlier, and she's got a bad back." "That's a great idea," Val agreed. "But first, snowball fight." Without warning, she scooped up a handful of snow, quickly packed it into a ball, and threw it at Buck, hitting him square in the chest. "Oh, it's on," Buck declared, dropping his giant snowball and diving behind it for cover. The air was suddenly filled with flying snow as the 4 friends engaged in an epic battle. They divided into teams, Rachel and Val versus Buck and Kevin, and built quick snow forts for protection. The girls' fort was more technically sound, thanks to Val's engineering mindset, while the boys' fort was larger but less structured. "Remember the rules," Kevin called out between throws. No ice balls, no face shots, and no hiding rocks in the snowballs. The battle raged for nearly an hour, with alliances shifting and strategies evolving. At one point, Rachel and Buck formed a temporary truce to gang up on Kevin, who had been showing off his throwing accuracy a bit too much. Val used the distraction to improve their fort, adding a snow wall with battlements. Finally, all four friends flopped backward into the snow, breathing heavily and making snow angels. Their cheeks were rosy from the cold and exercise, and their winter gear was covered in snow. "That was the best snowball fight ever," Buck declared, sitting up and brushing snow from his hair. "Now about that snowman," Rachel reminded them, getting to her feet and offering Val a hand up. They started rolling snow, working together to create 3 massive snowballs. Kevin and Buck handled the base, pushing a snowball around until it was almost as tall as their waists. Rachel and Val worked on the middle section, while all 4 collaborated on the head. "We need to lift the middle part together," Val said, examining their creation with a critical eye. "If we each take a corner and lift on the count of 3, we should be able to place it perfectly." They followed Val's instructions, carefully lifting the heavy middle section and positioning it on top of the base. The head was easier to manage, and soon they had the basic structure of their snowman complete. "Now for decorations," Rachel announced. She ran inside her house and returned with a bag full of supplies: a carrot for the nose, button for the eyes and mouth, and one of her old scarves. Buck contributed a worn baseball cap, while Kevin found some sticks for arms. Val disappeared into her garage and emerged with a pair of her father's old work gloves, which they attached to the ends of the stick arms. The finished snowman was impressive, nearly 7 feet tall and perfectly proportioned. They stepped back to admire their work, taking several photos to commemorate their creation. "You know what would make this even better?" Kevin said, his eyes lighting up. "If we made it look like an astronaut." The others looked at him curiously as he continued. "Think about it. The white snow already makes it look like a spacesuit. We just need to add some details to make it look more official." Excited by the idea, they began modifying their snowman. Val found some aluminum foil in her kitchen to create a visor effect on the snowman's face. Rachel added some decorated cardboard to make it look like control panels on the chest. Buck attached an old backpack to represent an oxygen tank, and Kevin drew NASA logos on some paper and carefully attached them to the snowman's chest and arms. As they worked on their snow astronaut, their imaginations began to soar. The quiet, snow-covered street transformed in their minds into an alien landscape. The piles of plowed snow became moon craters, and their footprints in the fresh snow looked just like the famous boot prints left on the moon by real astronauts. "Houston, this is Commander Rachel," Rachel said, pretending to speak into an imaginary radio on her wrist. "The crew has successfully landed on the alien ice planet." "Copy that, Commander," Buck played along, making static noises. "What are the conditions like?" "Temperature is well below freezing," Kevin reported, checking an imaginary scanner. "The entire planet appears to be covered in frozen water crystals." "The good news is we can breathe the atmosphere," Val added, pretending to check some equipment. "But we need to stay in our thermal suits to survive the extreme cold." Their space adventure was interrupted by the sound of a car struggling to move through the deep snow. They looked up to see Mr. Peterson, their elderly neighbor, trying to back his car out of his driveway. The wheels were spinning, but the car wasn't moving. "Mission Control," Rachel said, staying in character. "We have a situation that requires our immediate attention. Local inhabitant requires assistance." The 4 friends trudged through the snow to Mr. Peterson's driveway. The old man rolled down his window as they approached. "Having some trouble, Mr. Peterson?" Rachel asked. "Ah, yes," he sighed. "I have a doctor's appointment today that I can't miss, but this snow is giving me fits." We can help, Val declared. We just need some shovels and sand or cat litter for traction. The friends quickly organized themselves. Buck and Kevin ran to their houses to get snow shovels, while Val retrieved a bag of cat litter from her garage. Rachel began clearing snow from around the car's tires with her hands while they waited. Working together, they quickly cleared a path for Mr. Hank Peterson's car. Val directed them on where to spread the cat litter for maximum traction, and soon they had the car safely backed out onto the street, which had been plowed earlier. Thank you all so much, Mr. Peterson said, clearly touched by their help. You're quite the team. As Mr. Peterson carefully drove away, the friends looked at each other with pride. You know what? Rachel said. Maybe we should help some other neighbors too. There are a lot of people on our street who might have trouble with all this snow. The others quickly agreed, and they began their mission of snow removal. They worked their way down the street, shoveling sidewalks and driveways for elderly neighbors and families with young children. At each house, they refused any offers of payment, asking instead that their neighbors help someone else when they could. To make the work more fun, they maintained their space mission scenario. Each driveway became a different sector of their ice planet that needed to be cleared for the local inhabitants. They used their imaginary scanners to detect which areas needed the most attention, and communicated with each other using space terminology. Cadet Buck, how's the perimeter of Sector 7 looking? Rachel would ask as they worked on Mrs. Johnson's driveway. All clear, Commander, Buck would respond, leaning on his shovel. But we've got some heavy ice deposits in Sector 8 that might require special equipment. Engineer Val, Rachel would call out, what do you recommend for the ice deposits? Val would consider the icy patch thoughtfully before responding. I suggest we use our sonic ice-breaking tools, Commander, also known as these heavy-duty ice scrapers I brought from my dad's garage. They worked steadily through the afternoon, taking breaks when needed to rest and warm up. Rachel's mom brought out hot chocolate and cookies for them all, and other neighbors contributed snacks and drinks to keep their energy up. As they worked, they shared stories and jokes, talked about school and their families, and planned future adventures. The physical labor was tiring, but knowing they were helping others made it worthwhile. Plus, working together made even the hardest tasks seem manageable. By late afternoon, they had helped clear snow from 8 different properties on their street. Their muscles were tired, but their spirits were high. The setting sun painted the snow-covered landscape in beautiful shades of pink and orange, making their ice planet look even more magical. Mission Control, Rachel announced, still in character. I think it's time for the crew to return to base. We've successfully completed our objectives and helped the local population prepare for the extreme weather conditions. Copy that, Commander, Kevin played along. But first, should we check on our snow astronaut? Make sure he's still monitoring the situation? They trudged back to their snowman, which stood tall and proud in Rachel's front yard. The setting sun cast long shadows across the snow, making their creation look even more impressive. You know what would make this day perfect? Val asked, adjusting her glasses. What's that? The others responded in unison. A group photo with our astronaut friend here, and then maybe some more hot chocolate at my house? My mom's making her famous chocolate chip cookies, too. The suggestion was met with enthusiastic agreement. They posed for several pictures with their snow astronaut, making serious space mission faces and then silly ones. Rachel's mom came out to take a group shot of all 4 of them together. As they headed to Val's house for hot chocolate and cookies, they looked back at their work. The street looked different now. Paths were cleared, driveways were accessible, and their giant snow astronaut stood guard over it all. But more importantly, they had worked together to help their neighbors and had an amazing adventure in the process. Sitting around Val's kitchen table, warming their cold hands on mugs of hot chocolate, they began planning their next snow day adventure. Kevin suggested they build an entire space station out of snow next time. Buck wanted to create a snow maze in his backyard. Val thought they should organize a neighborhood snow sculpture contest, and Rachel wondered if they could break the world record for the longest snow fort. "You know what the best part of today was?" Rachel asked, dunking a cookie in her hot chocolate. "Building the awesome snow astronaut?" Buck guessed. "Having the best snowball fight ever?" Kevin suggested. "Helping all our neighbors?" Val offered. Rachel smiled at her friends. All of those things were great, but the best part was doing it all together. "We make a pretty good team, don't we?" The others nodded in agreement. They were more than just neighbors or classmates. They were a team, a crew, a group of friends who could turn an ordinary snow day into an extraordinary adventure. As they finished their hot chocolate and cookies, they could see through Val's window that it had started snowing again. Light flakes drifted down from the darkening sky, adding a fresh layer to their day's work. Their snow astronaut would have new territory to explore by morning. "Maybe we'll get another snow day tomorrow," Buck said hopefully, pressing his nose against the cold window glass. "Even if we don't," Rachel replied, "we made this one count. And there will be other snow days, other adventures, and other chances to help people. And other planets to explore," Kevin added with a grin. "And other challenges to solve together," Val concluded. As they all headed home for dinner that evening, trudging through the fresh snow falling on their previously cleared paths, each friend carried with them memories of a perfect snow day. They had transformed their street into an ice planet, created a magnificent snow astronaut, helped their neighbors, and most importantly, done it all together. Their parents would later talk about how proud they were of their children for helping the neighbors without being asked. The neighbors would remember the cheerful group of young astronauts who cleared their driveways and refused payment. But for Rachel, Buck, Kevin, and Val, they would remember it as the day they proved that with good friends, a little imagination, and willing hearts, even the coldest winter day could be filled with warmth and adventure. And their snow astronaut stood watch through the night, guarding their street and waiting for their next magical adventure together. The end.